Hey, have you been waiting for a Mathews that you can tune without the need of a bow press? Introducing the Lift X, brand new for 2025. Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery in our video studio today. It is Mathews 2025 day here at Lancaster Archery. Super excited to tell you about the flagship bows, because there are 4 of them, from Mathews for 2025, the Lift X. Basically, what Mathews did was took the Lift from last year and made some improvements on it, so we're calling it the Lift X. And I mentioned there were 4 versions. So what I have here is the Lift X 29.5, 29.5 inches axle to axle. There is also a 33-inch version, and then we have what's called the RS and the XD, Lift RS, Lift XD. The RS is going to be a short draw model. The XD is going to be a long draw model. And basically between the 4 bows, they're going to cover draw lengths from 23.5 all the way up to 33.5 inches. In the flagship lift format. You know, in the past with Mathews, if you wanted to get the short draw, it was another model bow. If you wanted to go the long draw, you know, we had the Atlas, that was a different bow. So it wasn't the flagship bow in different versions to reach the different draw lengths. It was actually different bows. So one thing Mathews wanted to do was be able to cover the gamut of draw lengths and have it be the flagship bow. So Lift X 29.5, that's what I'm going to talk about. That's what I got here. And at its core, it is the same as the Lift last year. And, you know, they had 29.5 and 33-inch versions as well. So a lot of, you know, it's going to be the same riser, same cam. We do have new limbs. So you recall last year there were some issues with limbs with the Lift. So Mathews went back in and developed a new process to come out with new limbs, same design, but new limbs in order to eliminate any of the problems that they were having last year. So those of you, who were concerned about that, new process for making the limbs, shouldn't have any problems this year. But let's jump right into what is the newest about this bow, and it is the limb shift technology. So right here, you're gonna see limb shift technology. So Mathews has finally gotten into the game where you can do your bow tuning and you don't need a bow press. You know, Mathews for several years had their top hat system where if you needed to move the cam left or right, you had to put the bow in a press, take the axle out, change your top hats. It was an effective system, but you needed a bow press. Where other companies were developing technologies where you didn't need a bow press. Well, now Mathews has gotten into it with the limb shift technology. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see this cap head screw right here. I'm going to take that out, and that's going to expose the axle on the inside, and it has an Allen key head on it. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to turn that key left or right, turn it counterclockwise or clockwise. If you turn it clockwise, you're going to move the limb tip. The only thing that moves is this limb tip. This is a right-handed bow, so on a right-handed bow, I'm only moving the right size limb, top and bottom. And what it's going to do is I'm going to move that limb tip in or out depending on what I need, in my paper tuning to clear up a tear. And it doesn't move much. You don't need to move it much. Hopefully, we're going to have to demonstrate that when we do our paper tune out there. Hopefully, we have to use that. But it's just going to move that limb tip in and out, and the cam actually will stay in the same place. That was one thing Mathews wanted to do, was have that cam be in the center of the bow so you weren't getting cam lean or, shifting the cam all the way to the left, all the way to the right. We're keeping the cam in the middle of the bow, just moving that one limb tip, only one, in or out in order to clean up paper tears. So it's super simple. I've already taken it apart and checked it out, so I know it's going to be real simple to use. But limb shift technology, brand new from Mathews this year. Now, the other new feature is the grip down here. So this year, what we're going to have is Mathews Bond grip system. And there are a series. Coincidentally, I have here the Engage. So this is going to be the profile and shape of the traditional Engage grip that we've seen the last couple years. Although you do get a little more shelf up here, and they have changed it. You can see I've got different textures on it. In the center here, I've got this little inlay. It's a rubber grip to where, that's going to give me good traction. And then there are two other shapes. There's a taper and a contour. They're just different shapes of grip. People have different size hands, different things they like in a grip. So you can choose between Engage, taper, contour, and of course they will still have the side plates. But if you've ever replaced a Mathews grip before, one of the coolest things is this right here. No more glue. It is a modular system. No glue that holds it in place. Remember, you always had to take that glue off. You heated it up. Sometimes they really stuck on there and wouldn't come off. Not anymore. Press fit. Now I am ready to go. And what's also great is this grip system is going to be retroactive all the way back to 2019. Any of the Mathews bows from 2019 forward, this grip system, the new Bond grip system, will work on all those other bows. So if you already have, the Mathews Phase 4 and you just like the new Bond grip, you can just get one of the Bond grips and put it on your Phase 4. It'll fit nicely. So great to see from Mathews there. And then as far as what's new on the bow, that is it. We're still going to have on the 29.5, it's going to be a 6-inch brace height, speed rating of up to 348 feet per second. We will do a speed test to tell you what that speed actually is. But the cams, so we are going to have draw length specific modules still, and it is the switch weight modules. So the modules on this bow, they're going to control several things. First, it's going to control your draw length. Second, it's going to control the draw weight. So with most bows, you have to change the limbs. If you go from 60-pound max to 70-pound max, you got to put new limbs in. Not with the Mathews, that's all done in the mods there. So it's going to control draw length, draw weight, and let off. You're going to have options of 75%, 80%, 85%. So for instance, what I have here is the A mod for the 29.5. It's going to be at 30-inch draw, 70 pounds, and it's going to have 85% let off. So that's the module that I have in. Those are the specs for this bow right here. Great system. Mathews, the bow companies do things different ways as far as draw length. Mathews is one that believes that by having the draw length specific modules, you are maximizing the efficiency and performance of the bow at that draw length. So that's why they have those draw length specific modules there. So then, of course, we're still going to have our bridge lock technologies in the bow. In other words, my sight, I'll be able to mount a sight straight through there, any of the bridge lock sights, and then you pin it in place with a screw that mounts right there. They do still have the threaded holes here. If you have a traditional bow sight, you can still put those on the Mathews Lift X. Coming down to the rest, you are going to have burger hole for your standard bolt-on rest there. But what most people are using, obviously, right here you have the dovetail machined into the riser. So any of the rests that are listed as IMS compatible, integrated mounting system. IMS compatible rests, you can clamp on there, Of course, that does away with anything on the side. We're all about streamlining these bows. And then we do have our bridge lock stabilizer mount as well down here. Or if you have a standard stabilizer, you just screw it into the bushing there. So all of that is the same as the lift. I do have the mounts here for the low profile quiver. Those are the same as well. And then the limbs, you know, this is something that Mathews started with the Phase 4. This bow does actually have 8 limbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They do have that rubber dampener down the middle separating the 2 limb pieces that come together. Something that they came out with to kill vibration and noise. These bows are stupid quiet. It's crazy how quiet they are. So again, same as the Lift, but now we brought that over to the Lift X. Down front, you will have your nano limb dampener down here. Again, that's something that they've had the last couple of years. It is right above the limb pocket. That is intended so that when you shoot, this dampener here is attacking vibration right at the limb as soon as it happens. And you can see I have the limb legs. This is a bow stand that you can put on here. You can shoot the bow with the limb legs on there because it's not actually touching the limbs. You can see it's touching the pocket. All the contact points are on the pocket and not on the limbs. So if you want to, you can shoot with the limb legs on. You know, if you're a ground blind hunter or something, that's pretty handy. For your draw weights, since we talked about that, you are going to have a wide range of options. For the Lift X models, that's what I'll stick to talking about. You will have max draw lengths of 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, and 80 pounds. Of course, each one of those will go down 10 pounds below that through your turns in the limb bolt, but the maximum, you're going to have 55 to 80 in 5-pound increments. And again, that's through your modules. That's how you're going to set those up. So it's pretty cool because you can have one, let's say, you know, you want to shoot one for Target League. Get the 55-pound version for that so it's easier on your shoulder. Then when you go hunting, get another pair of modules that are at 70 pound. All you got to do is change the modules and you've got basically 2 different bows there. So that switch weight, that's something Mathews has really done well with through the years. Now, getting back to the limb shift technology, one thing I wanted to mention is we'll have another video out on this, but let's say you wanted to change the strings and cables. So what you're going to do with now that limb shift technology in there is on the limb shift side, you're basically going to back that bolt out and then push the axle out from the other side. So in other words, you still have to remove the cam, obviously, to replace strings and cables because you do have your harness right here. Your yoke harness goes up and around. The only way to get that out is to take the cam off, so you have to take the axle out. But we will do a video later showing you how to take the axle out on these new Lift X bows. But I just wanted to mention that for those of you who do it at home. Yes, it is possible still to take that axle out, even though the limb shift uses the same connection points there that you're going to work with in terms of screws. Then something else, Mathews started last year, you know, they came out with their match bowstrings. They used to have zebra bowstrings. They kind of redid their process there as well to improve their strings and cables that come on the bows. Match bowstrings, that's what you're going to get on the Lift X. And these bows are super light. The 29.5 comes in right at 4 pounds. When Mathews does their weight, they say 3.99 pounds is the spec. They're going to take off all the dampeners, take off the string suppressors. They're going to take off all the dampeners. And of course, I have the the quiver connections as well. So mine's probably going to be a little bit higher than theirs. But let's see what we get here. I mean, still pretty good. 3940, 3940. Right there at 4 pounds. That's basically what they say it weighs. So super light. That was certainly one thing I noticed with the Lift last year, is that the bow was really light. So what we're gonna do with the Lift X, we are going to build this bow. We're gonna put some new accessories on there, some new Mathews specific accessories. We'll tell you about those when we put them on. And then we're going to get the cam timing. We're going to tune this bow, hopefully have to use the limb shift technology. And then we're going to get arrow speed. We'll do our own speed test so you can see what that looks like. And then we'll go outside and put this thing to the test. All right, so one new accessory that we're introducing is the Bridge Lock UV slider. So this is a Bridge Lock specific version of the UltraView UV slider. If you've seen that site, you know, wildly popular. It's got its, ergonomic design where your latch is right here, flip that up, then you got this big wheel with the traction, go up and down. You're not even doing a full turn to go the full length of your vertical bar here. And it's going to have, it's actually, if you're familiar with the UV slider, this obviously is a new design. We've got new pins in there. The pins are much brighter. They're encased in this plastic right here, so it is protected, but yet it's still collecting, gathering light. We've got our standard, UV light kit in there. Turn that light on to brighten up those pins. And you can see I have here a 5-pin horizontal. There's a 3-pin horizontal and a 3-pin vertical. So a couple different choices there. We're gonna have our dual sight tapes. You can have one on this side, one on this side. I like this one in the front there because it's going to be kind of facing towards the archer. You can see how it's angled. You do have one sight pin indicator there. For me, that's going to be my bottom pin. So I'm going to be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then I'm going to have this matching my 60 pin. So when I go beyond it, that's when I'm going to use this. That's how I'm going to set up a 5-pin. But just super compact UV slider. It weighs almost nothing. It's just a couple ounces, so it is super light on there, doesn't add much weight. But that is the Mathews Bridge Lock UV slider. Obviously, it's got your Mathews branding. So this is a new accessory that we're introducing at the same time as the Lift X. Just a hair fast. Just barely off. I want to shoot it. I think the strings need to settle. Right now, it's pretty darn close. All right, so we got our Lift X all built here, and now we're gonna do our paper test to see how our tune is. Boy, that is just a little bit knock right. The majority of the fletching's on the right. I mean, it's pretty good, but it is a hair knock right. So what's the fix for that? As we mentioned, we have our cap screw right here. We're going to take that off. And you're going to see right in here, there is a line and a series of lines. That's your indicator for where your positions are. But in here, you can see that that is my Allen key fits in there. So what I want to do is I want to move the limb to the right. I want to chase my tear. So I'm knock right, so I want to move my limb to the right. So the way this is oriented, just in me checking it here, is so it says right is going to be counterclockwise. And so I was figuring that the left-right pertained to the limb, but it's pertaining to the cam position. So if I want the cam, it says to go to the right, that's what I want it to do. So I'm going to give it a little twist, and the limb is actually moving to the left, but that makes sense. That means that your cam is, in effect, is going to the right. So that's what I just did. And we'll see how that works. All right, let's see how we did. So still a hair to the right. So let's go down and move the bottom, because we have the bottom as well. So I want to go to the right. Here we go. We'll take that way. Yeah, and what I can see is my marks in there, my indicator. So with the limb going to the left, yes, I can see my mark is going to the right. So that's what they're going off of. I just assumed it meant moving the limb left or right, but it is moving the cam position. And so you can see the mark. When I did that turn, the limb moved left, but my mark moved to the right, if that makes sense. So let's see again. There we go. That is where we want to see it. Right down the middle there. You can see here we're a little bit off, a little bit askew there, but that one is equidistant. All the fletchings are where they should be, so we're pretty good there. I'm going to call that a bullet hole. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do our speed test, see how fast those arrows are going. All right, so we are going to do our speed test for the Lift X. And first we got to get our draw weight. All right, there we are, 70.4. So remember that the speed rating is up to 348 feet per second. That's going to be 30-inch draw, which we are at, 70 pounds, which we are at, with a 350 grain arrow, which we have right here. And so we will shoot through our Garmin Zero and see what we get. .337.7. Take another shot. .337.2. So there you have it. So, and folks say, oh, how come that speed is off? Well, I don't have the bow that they used for their bow test. And also, I got a D-loop and a peep sight in the middle third of the string. Anything you put in there robs speed. But as we mentioned, 337 in that area, that's what we get on a bow rated for 348. So now let's go outside and put this Lift X through the test, see what it can do. All right, so we're outside here at the club. Obviously, we've got our Lift X 29.5 and we are at 60 yards. Let's see what we can do. Just under the dot. Pretty good. close to the dot. So let's talk about the shooting experience of the Lift X29. It's the same as shooting the Lift. Exact same shooting experience. I mean, it's the same bow, except for the tuning differences. It's the same bow. But if you did not get a Lift and you're in the market, hey, let me tell you about what the shooting experience is like. And you know, I had the Lift 29.5, so I'm familiar with this axle to axle, and that's what strikes me about these bows. Same with this, the Lift X 29.5. Normally, I shoot 30 inches. Normally, I wouldn't like a bow this short. However, as I discovered last year, I tried it because I normally go for the longer version. So I said, well, let me see what it's like. 29.5 inches, this bow shoots awesome. It holds on target, which I wasn't expecting it to. And I'm from Pennsylvania. Eastern tree stand bow hunter. That's the main thing that I do. So I wanted to try the 29.5. It was a dream for carrying around the woods. It's light, it's short, it's maneuverable going up and down the tree stand. Just super nice. And you can see I don't have this tricked out, you know, for long distance shooting. I got the 12-inch bridge lock stabilizer, but I got it pulled in, so it's, I don't know, 10 inches out front. I got the 2 ounces on here, plus whatever the end cap is, no side rod, so we're talking minimal stabilization on here. And what I found is I don't really need it. It holds on target. Of course, I know that that's because of that riser, that ridiculously long riser. I believe Mathews has the biggest riser. We're talking about the ratio between riser to axle. I believe Mathews has the biggest riser as it relates to the axle to axle. This is not a 29.5 inch riser, but it's just shorter than that. And so that big riser, that just, you know, allows me to hold this thing super steady. Let's take another shot here. That's in the dot. So one thing I will say, incredible thank yous to Mathews for, is the new Bond grip system that they have here. You know, you saw it, you can just pop these grips right off. There are 3 different, I'll call them shapes. You have the Engage, which we're familiar with for years, that I was not always a big fan of. On my own bows, I would immediately take that thing off. Then we have the Contour and the Taper. What I have on here is the Taper, and this is the one that gives you the most, comes back against your heel. What it is it promotes a higher wrist, is what that's called. And I found that sits the most steady for me. The Contour is kind of in between that and the Engage. But just having the ability to swap them out, there's no glue on there, I can just pop one off, put the other right back on, is nice. And to have more options, if you were a fan of the side plates, that's still an option as well. So the Bond grip system, you know, that's a new feature that I'm really liking. As I played with all the grips, and this Taper grip, that's the one I like the most. But, you know, we'll walk through this draw cycle here. Because remember, this is one of the fastest bows Mathews has put out in recent years. So, as I always say, speed ain't free. The faster bows are not going to be the ones that feel like they draw less than the actual draw weight. I have this set at 70 pounds, and it feels like 70 pounds. But so what I'm looking for is how much, you know, how difficult is it for me to get that back to full draw and then stay at full draw? And I'll walk you through that, because it's not difficult. It is, I'll call it a stout draw cycle, but it's not rough. So right here you got effort at the front end, then right there the cam rolls over. There's good amount of pressure at the back wall, but there is enough of a valley that I can stay in there. As opposed to ones where if you relax even a little bit, it wants you to collapse. This one I have to pay attention is how I'll phrase that, yeah, I gotta make sure I stay against that back wall. But it's not one, there's enough of a valley there that I can get comfortable in it. Once I'm shooting this bow for a while, I know what to expect at the back end, and so I can settle into it. Yeah. Nice shooting bow from the folks at Mathews with the Lift X. Same thing as last year. I can see my arrow flight is really good. You know, you saw we just had to tweak a little bit with the new limb shift technology to get that tune in there. Arrows are flying good. If you did not get the Lift last year, the Lift X may be just what you're looking for. All right, let's go check out this 60-yard group. All right, let's check this group. So 60 yards, pretty good. Typical, I'm 57 years old. You get 3 good ones and then you fall apart. But they're all staying right in there. I know that my aim was pretty good, just drifting off of it a little bit. Yeah, for me, 60 yards, 2.5-inch aiming dot there, that's pretty good. Again, 29.5 inches axle to axle at 70 pounds with minimal stabilizer. First one's the only one that counts, right, in the bow hunting world. So yeah, this bow just, it holds nice, it shoots nice. Again, just like the Lift last year, I shot that one really well as well. So Lift X, if you didn't get the Lift, you might want to try the Lift X. All right, Mathews Lift X, flagship hunting bow from Mathews for 2025. Again, I have the 29.5 inch here. There is a 33 inch as well. And then you'll remember we also have the RS, which is a short draw, and the XD, which is a long draw version. So first time Mathews has offered the same bow just in that short draw and long draw. You folks who are in those categories, you always had to get a different bow. It wasn't the flagship bow, it was a totally separate bow. So Mathews wanted to offer bows that you folks could have in the long draw and short draw that would match the flagship as well. So you have that. Great new bows from Mathews with that new tuning technology there. Real excited about that. It's been, you know, this is Mathews' first time having a tuning system where you didn't need a bow press. So we're excited to see how the public receives that, how it works out there. I'm sure we'll hear lots about that. If you want to see the Mathews Lift X on our website, be sure to click the link in the description below. This bow is a pro shop only, so you're going to have to go to your pro shop to actually see it and to buy it. If we are your pro shop, Lancaster Archery, we will have these bows ready. Come on in and check them out. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click that bell to get notifications whenever we put out new videos. And as always, if you have any questions, you can visit us at lancasterarchery.com.